This video is not going to cover everything that's going on in the Vancouver Canucks trade rumor sphere. In fact, it's not even going to scratch the surface. This might be part 1 or maybe part 0, depending on how you look at it. It could even be like part 15, depending on if you want to include all the prior videos we've already made discussing Vancouver Canucks players and whether or not they could be on the move. But let's talk today about the Vancouver Canucks president of hockey operations, Jim Rutherford, as well as the man up top, the guy who owns the team, Francesco Aquilini. The reason we're talking about these two is because on Rob Simpson's new website, Vancouver Hockey Insider, yeah, by the way, Rob Simpson used to write for Vancouver Hockey Now. He covered the team. He was there at the games. He was there at the events, the practices, whatever. He got canned from Hockey Now because of a very strangely written title on the article that he made about Rachel Doerrie. But either way, he had started up his own website, VancouverHockeyInsider.com. He's still on the beat, and he's still writing about Vancouver. Take a look at this piece he had published yesterday on the 15th. Canucks Brass, the owner, meet in Toronto. Plans are in place. Whatever those plans are for the struggling Vancouver Canucks remain to be seen. But President of Hockey Operations Jim Rutherford and team owner Francesco Aquilini met one-on-one for 45 minutes during the Hockey Hall of Fame festivities in Toronto on Monday night. The full Canucks management contingent was on hand to celebrate the 2022 induction class, featuring Canucks legends Sedin Luongo. While most were enjoying the revelry, the others talked hockey, seemingly locking down contingency plans for a club that has started the season 4-9-3 and play against Buffalo Tuesday night. Now, they beat Buffalo, so now they're 5-9-3, and a lot of people would go out there and say that Aquilini, during the, the induction ceremony, did not look like he was quote-unquote celebrating the festivities. The guy was just kind of sitting there with his arms crossed. He looked kind of pissed off, and people were speculating, hey, did their conversation, Aquilini and Rutherford's conversation, the 45-minute one, did it happen before the entire event went down? And let's say Jim Rutherford, hypothetically, he rips into Aquilini and talks to him about how this team sucks and they need to rebuild and they need to trade everybody and fire the coach and do all this stuff. And if Aquilini did not like that, that might be why he's sitting in the chair looking all grumpy. Now, of course, that's just all speculation, but when it comes to the perceived ideas as to how the Canucks have been run the past few years, it's been very apparent from different NHL insider sources that Aquilini is the reason the team has never gone through a full-on rebuild. It's because he wants to make the playoffs. He wants to do that retool on the fly. When Trevor Linden suggested a rebuild in 2017 or whatever it was, he didn't get it, and he left because of that. When Mike Gillis suggested a rebuild after the Canucks got eliminated by the Sharks in 2013, I believe it was, he didn't get that yes. Aquilini wanted to remain competitive, and it's been like that for a while now, where this team is not able to go through any rebuild because the guy up top is saying, no, don't do that. Don't trade away your star players. Don't get draft picks. Don't get prospects. Get other players that are in the middle of their primes to help you out and make the playoffs again. That's why they traded for Toffoli. That's why they signed Eriksson. That's why they signed all these players and they traded for OEL, and it's been kind of the pattern. Of course, I'm just kind of spitting here. I'm not really saying that those are the exact words that Aquilini has ever said, but it's just kind of the idea and the philosophy of how this team is run. It's very apparent that the owner has been meddling. Friedman said he believes that's the case. I believe Rick Dhaliwal has said this a few times as well. Rob Fay called out Aquilini on the radio earlier this year, or was it last year? I forgot. But either way, Aquilini is the guy, and he's kind of in a position where once he gets talked to by somebody like Jim Rutherford, who tries to truth bomb him as to how this team is bad, maybe that would justify some sort of a reaction like this on the chair. Of course, this is all speculation. It's not true. I'm just kind of making a story here along as we go. Let's go back over onto the article. This is what Rob Simpson writes. One source close to the situation suggested that Rutherford originally planned to stick with the status quo until American Thanksgiving weekend, the semi-traditional cutoff point for projecting whether or not your NHL team could or likely would not make the playoffs. It appears we might hear something much sooner if these Toronto meetings involve a change in plans. Now, there are some other people, though, going out there and saying that this Aquilini-Rutherford thing isn't that big of a deal. Patrick Johnson said this, honestly, if Aquilini and Rutherford hadn't met this weekend, that would be news. The hockey president meeting with the chairman and his staff? That happens all the time. Justin Morris at them replies saying, yeah, Benning literally said they talked every day. So maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe it isn't really all too much of a thing that Rutherford and Aquilini had a secret meeting of sorts and talked shop about the Vancouver Canucks. In fact, this meeting happened before the Buffalo game wherein they actually won and Bo Horvat boosted his trade value. But you also take a look at what was said about this road trip in the first place and you acknowledge that this road trip was supposed to be super influential as to how the Canucks would decide the next few months' worth of moves. If they absolutely tanked the bed in this road trip and they came back to Vancouver with a pretty bad record, then we might see some actual change in action. Now, they went 2 for 3 on the road trip. They lost pretty badly to Montreal, Toronto, and Boston. That's who it was, yeah. And they beat Ottawa and Buffalo. The Ottawa win was one where you really could debate they should have lost, and the Buffalo win was one where they played so poorly in the third, but I think that might have been kind of how they wanted to do it. It's weird. You could watch the post-game video we made yesterday to get my thoughts on that. But either way, the road trip was unsuccessful, and now, with all the talk in this media about how trades need to be made and rebuilds need to be entered and Jonathan Lekkerimäki might need to be traded too, it's kind of a tire fire here. I know they won last game, but still, there's a reputation that this team has built upon for itself, and unless we go on another Bruce there it is 7-game winning streak, I don't know if that's really ever going to calm down. Is it possible for the team to do that? I don't know. I mean, they've had so many leads, and they're like one of the top teams in the NHL when it comes to first-period goals. They start out really well. It's just they don't know how to win. They don't know how to hold on to leads, and there's no heart. There's no fight. They're mentally weak, and trying to fix an issue like that doesn't come with just firing the coach and hiring a new one. It doesn't come from just trading away one guy and bringing in a replacement that is also in the same age range. It comes from a complete overhaul, starting from scratch and accepting the idea that your team might be bad. It's bad. And you're able to say, okay, well, we can be a bit badder so we can get better draft picks, try to trade away other guys that we have for more draft picks, and build for the future. Francesco, this team was already so piss-poor bad in 2017, you know what it's like to be at the bottom of the league. And guess what happened? After being second last in the NHL, only to Colorado, who drafted 4th in the 2017 draft, you drafted 5th, you got Elias Pettersson. The team was bad the next season, not that bad, but they were still kind of bad, and you had Brock Besser make his rookie debut year and everything, it was great, and guess what? You were still bad, you got Quinn Hughes. That's how you get star players. You be bad and you take them in the draft. But Lego, what about all the other times that the team was bad and they had good draft picks? Well, that's just because Benning flubbed the picks. Simple as that. 2014, Jake Virtanen, nah, you should have taken Ehlers. You should have taken Nylander. 2016, Olli Juolevi should have taken Tkachuk. That's it, that's a $10 million player right there. It's beating a dead horse, but yeah, Jim Benning talk, eh? It always goes back to Jim Benning. Even now, Jason Dickinson, that trade is so bad. And like, I get it, they really valued that cap space, and Dickinson definitely was not what he should have been to justify paying him that amount of money, which is why they traded away a second for that too. That's already another draft pick down the drain, but now he's doing well in Chicago. I mean, okay, the fourth line was probably going to be Dickinson's home if they hadn't traded him away, and I mean, Oman, Joshua, and Lazar, when Lazar's in the lineup, they're a pretty good line. Even Lockwood yesterday instead of Lazar. Pretty good, but either way, we'll see what happens with this team. This might have been a prelude video to all the trades that might be inevitably coming. I don't know. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Who do you think deserves to get traded? Who do you think should get traded? Where do you think these trades are going to occur? Defense, forwards, and who do you think the Canucks are going to get in return? Is it going to be players? Is it going to be draft picks? Is it going to be just complete fodder for the rebuild? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and bye.